This is Buffalo State Data Talk, the podcast where we introduce you to how data is used and explore careers that involve data.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Buffalo State Data Talk. I'm your host, Heather Campbell, and thank you for joining us for episode 23. Today, we'll be talking to a number of people from ACV Auctions, including Andrew Melbourne, a recruiter for ACV, Maggie Mai, the product analytics team lead, and John Ghosen, an analytics engineer and Buffalo State alumni. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Heather, for having us. Really happy to be here.
Excellent. So, Andrew, could you start us off by telling us a little bit about ACV as a company in general?
Yeah, absolutely. ACV as an organization, we are a Buffalo, New York-based tech company. We actually specialize in the automotive space. We essentially build software SaaS products and utilize comprehensive data to empower our dealer partners across the US to buy, sell, and evaluate vehicles. Essentially, we're taking the physical brick and mortar auction that has been around for decades and not only digitizing it, but also utilizing comprehensive data to empower our dealer partners to, again, buy and sell through our marketplace. Again, a really great Buffalo, New York homegrown story. The organization has continued to grow, and we're really continue to focus our efforts in providing really great data and technology to our dealer partners across the US.
Excellent overview. I really appreciate that. And it's always great to have companies representing the Buffalo area. So I now want each of you to give me, a general overview of what you do for the company. So Maggie, why don't you start?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Maggie. I work as the product analytics team lead at ACV Analytics. So what I do is a combination of technical work as well as management. So I do have some people directly reporting to me. And I also have multiple projects on my end. Right now, I am the team lead for products.
Thanks, Maggie. John, how about you?
Sure. So I do data engineering in the analytics infrastructure domain. So I'm an analytics engineer here at ACV. And our job is to make sure that the data is ingested, scheduled, transformed, cleaned, and prepared for analytics. So we're making sure that the data comes in from our ACV app, other sources like Salesforce, and it's ingested properly. And then I'll also monitor alerts, and I'll make sure that our stakeholder-facing reports have accurate and fresh data. And if there's any issues, I'll work with other analytics engineers to make sure that our data pipeline is healthy.
Definitely. You can't do good analytics unless you have that clean, organized data. So very important. And Andrew, what do you do?
Absolutely. I'm a senior tech recruiter here at ACV. I'm actually in the Toronto, Canada market. So I'm not too far from Buffalo. But my job is a little bit of a twofold part. I have the wonderful experience of scaling all of our tech teams across Canada and the US. So product, data analytics, and engineering, security are just some of the areas that I focus on as well too. So the amazing teammates that we have here have definitely been very prideful in being able to have a hand in recruiting them and bringing them here to the ACV team. So outside of recruiting our wonderful tech professionals, I also am responsible for really building a culture and environment that our teammates are absolutely excited to continue to work within. So for us, we've been voted a great place to work across Canada and the US. And so being able to build programs and processes that really deliver a great cultural experience when we're looking at people and culture for our teammates is also another part of my day-to-day.
Excellent. So if anyone was interested in working for ACV in the data analytics area, they should reach out to you?
Absolutely.
Great. So now I kind of want to get a little bit more into the nitty gritty and learn, what does your day-to-day life look like working for ACV? So John, why don't you start us off?
So my day-to-day or week-to-week, I will help our sales ops and business ops partners write and schedule queries and create visualizations and reports. And then I'll also help support and maintain those reports to make sure that they're still getting accurate and fresh data. And I also work with sales and business partners to understand business insights and make sure that they're getting the sort of analysis that they need for their jobs too.
And John, what kinds of data are you using and analyzing?
So we are an online auto marketplace. So we take a look at a lot of those auctions, how much the cars sell for, where, what kinds of makes and models, and we try to analyze trends and gain valuable insights.
Excellent. And once you have that data collected and you're looking at the analysis, could you give me an example of what kinds of things you might find or what kinds of things you look for?
We typically look for factors that might be hindering or could potentially be taken advantage of to help sell more cars. We typically look for these factors so that we can optimize our marketplace and make sure that we're taking advantage of this data in order to do that.
Perfect. Makes a lot of sense. Maggie, what does a typical day or week look like for you?
So for me, let me separate this my answer into two parts. First one is the technical part. So as in product analytics, we work pretty closely with the stakeholders. That will include product managers, engineering managers, and some business owners. That will include the salespeople. So what I do on a daily basis is there could be multiple products or features to be launched in our marketplace or in any of our products. What product analytics does here is to help them do the experiment, design some tests to test how these kind of features of product will impact the user behavior. The product to be launched will increase our sales, increase the sell-through rate, like all those kind of metrics that would help to evaluate the success of the product and the feature. On the management side, I coordinate quite a lot of meetings or presentations among our teammates.
Excellent. And how much time would you say is split between, working collaboratively and working independently?
That totally depends on the project because different projects usually involve different people. In terms of collaboratively, we work with stakeholders all the time. But sometimes we also work with our team members in other teammates in analytics team as well. We work closely with data engineering like John's team. And sales and marketing, because we always care about sales. Yeah, we have a lot of interactions even within the central analytics instead of simply just product analytics. So we work collaboratively, both internally and externally quite often. Independent work, that is just your focus time set on your calendar, I believe. But most of the time you need help from your teammates. So I would say 60% of time you work with other teammates and 40% of time I work yourself.
And what specific softwares, technologies, or programming languages are you using in your work? John, go first.
Sure. So I mostly use SQL and Python in my work. And then Tableau is also another very important piece of software. And I do a lot of work in Google BigQuery, doing SQL.
And Maggie, how about you? What programming languages or software do you use, or is it the same?
It's quite similar, but in product analytics, we do have some additional things, something like Mixpanel. That is the platform we use to track user interactions on our marketplace, including our app and the web browser. But in addition to the data engineering, some modeling, machine learning, and some basic data analysis we can also carry out on Python.
And could you give me like a quick example of what kind of modeling you do?
Actually, I don't do it myself. One of my teammates is currently doing it. So we currently have a forecasting model. So based on our historical sales, what will be our sales tomorrow? Or what will be our sales next month? Or what will be the sales next quarter?
Makes a ton of sense. So Andrew, as a recruiter, John and Maggie mentioned, some skill sets or specific programming languages that they're using. What are you specifically looking for in terms of skill sets and training when you're hiring for this type of career?
Yeah, there's usually, again, kind of a two-part to that. One is definitely the technical skill sets that, Maggie and John have really elaborated on. We do a lot of work with Python, BigQuery, MySQL. From a visualization perspective, Tableau. We're even open to candidates who have experience working with Power BI as well. But given the nature of this call and kind of the audience that we're speaking to, and we're looking at kind of the junior candidate audience. We don't expect a lot of the candidates who are, very entry level or new to the industry to be experts with these skill sets. One of the key themes for us here at ACV has been collaboration, teamwork, and the ability to work with others. And so we really put an emphasis on that through the interview process and through identifying especially junior level talent as well. Again, we can teach a lot of these skill sets, and there has to be an understanding or a baseline to ensure that you're successful in this role. But we also put an emphasis on how is this individual going to continue to build our culture around innovation and an experiment first mindset, the ability to work with stakeholders and with teammates as well, too, from a collaboration perspective. We're also a very agile environment as well, too. What's priority this week might not be priority next week as well. So we are in a team that moves together. And for us, that part of the individual is extremely important.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Obviously, having those hard skills is super important. Those soft skills are definitely something that people sometimes don't think about and are extremely important in the hiring process.
Yeah, and I actually do think most of the skills are transferable. For the tools, I believe most people would learn it by doing it.
Yeah, hands-on experience, super helpful in data analytics.
Yes.
So Maggie, could you talk about a challenge that you've had to overcome in your position? How did you solve it? Maybe what went wrong and how did you fix it?
People usually aren't aware of how important the communication it is in the workplace. Most people will think you need to know this kind of models, you need to know this kind of technique to do data analysis, this and that. But when you come into a workplace, you realize people don't understand many things you talk in school. So especially when you talk to stakeholders, you better not use so many technical languages, especially technical terms they don't understand a bit. When you present your work to different kind of audience, you need to think of their background so that you can try to adapt your language a little bit so that to tell them what they understand. For example, when you talk to business people, use business language. When you talk to engineering manager, use some engineering language. So that's what I meant here is all about communication, because people have different terms for different concepts. And usually they meant to the same thing, but when you heard of it the first time, you thought they were different things. So when you communicate among to these people, don't make any assumptions. How to cope with these challenges, have a clear documentation. In your documentation, you list out what you have assumed to for your rest of the presentations. So for example, if you look into a product, so what's the user of this product? First of all, because people could get confused because in ACV, we have sellers and buyers. Some products might be open to sellers only. So this kind of assumptions, very basic assumptions. So these kind of assumptions will help people to have a background of what you are going to talk about in the later of your presentation or later of your work.
Do you have any suggestions or advice for, people moving into a new company or starting off their career as a data analyst or data engineer, how to get better at that communication and collaboration part?
Explain your technical work to a person that's not in your area to make him understand.
Excellent.
That will help you to explain things that when the person doesn't speak your language.
Yeah, I love that idea. Practice makes perfect, right?
Yep.
I will say that's a really golden piece of advice there, Maggie. I'm definitely putting that one in my notepad there.
Love it. So, John, what is your favorite part of your job at ACV?
That's a tough one. We have a really great company culture here, and it's great working here in general. But one of my favorite parts about the job is probably solving problems and overcoming some challenges that I encounter in my work. Because it's a really good feeling when I have a report or a query or something that is broken or not working properly. And when I finally fix it, I get that kind of gratification. And I know that I'm helping bring value to whatever I'm working on there. So I'd say that's probably my favorite part about working here.
Yes, excellent. I love that. That's definitely something that's very satisfying to have those results. Maggie, how about you? What's your favorite part?
My favorite part is you meet new people technically every week or every project, and you learn different and new things inside the product, even though you thought you knew the product pretty well. There are always new things.
Yes. So are you guys still able to set aside time for professional development? And if so, what kind of activities do you do? John, you can start.
And then I do try to set aside a few hours a week to just study some base skills that I think are valuable for analytics engineering. Like I'll study some niche features in SQL, or I'll try to learn something new about Python once a week or something, just so that I can keep advancing and keep up with my role.
And where are you learning these skills? Are you looking on YouTube or Googling it, or do you have a specific place you like to go?
If I run into an issue, I will just Google it and see what the internet has to offer me. A lot of the times that takes me to Stack Overflow or like W3 Schools or some of those online resources that are extremely helpful.
Excellent. And we can link those resources in the description of the episode. So Maggie, how about you? Are you able to set aside some time for professional development?
Yeah, I do. But my focus is less on technical part, but more on the management piece, because I'm moving towards to the management side of my work. So here my focus is to how to manage a team, because I'm quite new on this piece. The way I learned this is one of seeking help inside the company, because we do have different leaders inside the companies that could give suggestions. We also have a program called Women at ACV, our female leaders inside the company that I can seek suggestion and recommendations from. I also seek help from my own manager as well, because she's a great leader inside our company.
Excellent. And Andrew, professional development is something that is really important to a lot of people. Is that something that people are looking for as a part of their recruiting process? Are they looking for people who are continuing to do professional development? Like, what do people think of that in their recruitment process?
Absolutely. We're always looking for individuals who are focused on continuing to better themselves, not only for the organization, but even just their own skill sets. Especially when you're looking in the tech industry, tech is continuously changing, developing, and getting better. And so an integral part of, you being the best version of yourself is essentially keeping up to date with some of those trends. So, for us, personal development is absolutely huge. We actually really push that here internally with our teammates. Making sure that they're taking full advantage of some of our learning and development opportunities, professional certifications outside of the area. So we really do put a focus on that. It's only going to be better, not only for the individual, but also for the organization as a whole. So absolutely, personal development, especially in the tech industry, is really critical for the success of the candidate and also the organization.
And it's easy to add something like a course or a certificate to your resume and show that off. But, like we were saying, some of the things that people are doing for professional development are just, looking up information online or talking to others. Is there a good way of getting that across in your interview or your application process?
You know what? We really do put a focus, and Maggie kind of mentioned this as well. Our focus is really on real world problems and solutions, right? As much as the academic definitely plays a part in setting a baseline, I would say our focus is, hey, this is a real life situation. And there's certain times where, again, maybe that academic background from previous work might not necessarily mold in terms of the solutions that the problems we're facing right now. So we really do put an emphasis on, hey, real life challenges and problems and solutions that are more in line with our industry on a day-to-day basis. But absolutely, I think any area of personal development, whether it's academic, real world training from your day-to-day in your role, all of these tools are only going to help you develop as a professional.
Excellent. So I want to talk a little bit about, John and Maggie, your career paths and how you ended up at ACV. So John, let's start with you. You completed the General Assembly Data Analytics boot camp with Tech Buffalo, which led you to your current role. So can you tell us a bit about that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually graduated from Buffalo State, but my degree is in political science and public legal studies. And I graduated at the beginning of the pandemic, which was not a great time to search for a job. So a little while later, I found out about the General Assembly data analytics boot camp organized by Tech Buffalo. And I feel very fortunate and privileged to be able to participate in this all expenses paid 3-month long, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 boot camp. And during this boot camp, over the course of 12 weeks, I completed over 500 hours of classwork, projects, career development, interview prep. And I learned a lot of really valuable data analytics and data engineering skills like Python, SQL, Tableau, Power BI. We did a little bit on Excel. Being able to participate in this 12-week course really gave me a fantastic foundation of all of these skills that I was able to bring to ACV and continue to build upon.
So Maggie, you had a bit more of like the traditional pathway into data analytics. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into data analytics?
So I had a mathematics bachelor and master degrees at University of Waterloo. But yeah, this is technically my first job after graduation from school. So I started, when did I start? I started on March 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic, literally right at the beginning, because I went to the office for one single day and then starting from the second day, we started work from home. Yup. Anyway, but starting from that step, first I worked on inspection. So we do, ACV's business is all about cars, and we do have inspectors across the entire country in United States. And later, I just think that I suddenly have some interest in product analytics. And back then, we didn't have such a product analytics sub-team. But as ACV grew in the past couple of years, we grew our business lines, we have more partners, and we have more acquisitions. So roughly 1.5 years ago, I got a chance to dive into the pricing part of the business. So yeah, I feel really honored and happy to see the growth I have in ACV in the 2.5 years here.
So after listening to both of you, John and Maggie, your great experiences at ACV, our listeners might be inspired to join the team. So Andrew, could you tell us a little bit about, the process, the interview process at ACV?
Absolutely. We have a very thorough interview process here. And really the goal is to ensure that the candidate is not only the right fit for the role, but ensuring that they can be successful from day one and really seeing their career grow here at ACV. So there are multiple steps in the interview process, interviews with myself as the recruiter, our fearless leader, John Ghosen as well too. And then also some of our key stakeholders and teammates within our data analytics teams like Maggie and John that you would meet throughout the entire interview process. And again, some of the key areas that we focus on, as much as they are also on the technical skill sides, we're looking at, stakeholder relationship, being able to communicate and work within a team setting, being able to meet with some of our teammates in going through these interviews, really assess some of the more soft and personal skill sets and core competencies around things like communication, team management, and team building. How does this individual continue to add to our culture centered around innovation and experiment first mindset as well too. I will say that our team is currently hiring right now, our data analytics team. So if you are in the Buffalo or Toronto market and looking to get into an amazing organization that's solving some really complex problems in and around the automotive space, particularly around wholesale auctions, definitely we are growing our teams out in those markets. So I'm very eager to meet with you. If you are interested in applying to our roles, you feel free to apply on our careers page, acvauctions.com. You can toggle through the careers tab at the very top or the bottom of the page and apply to our open data analytics roles. Or you can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, Andrew Melbourne. Feel free to just send me a note and I'd be more than happy to continue that conversation.
Excellent. And we can put the link to the ACV Auctions career website and your LinkedIn in the notes section for the podcast. So before we let you go, is there anything else that you guys want our listeners to know about that we didn't get a chance to cover today?
I would just say that if you are listening and you're considering a career in data, whether it be data engineering, science, or analytics, definitely dip your toes into some resources and see if you like it, because I think it's really a fantastic field.
For me, in addition to my advice about like explaining your things to someone else, I do have some cool resources that I want to recommend, specifically in data science. From my understanding, data science is a combination of math, statistics, and computer science. So, and I am from a math background, so I will recommend a really comprehensive math channel, 3 Blue, 1 Brown. Those are those amazing MIT people creating this program. But what they do is to visualize a lot of very difficult to understand math concepts, including very basic ones, calculus, linear algebra, how matrix works, and how all this transformation, very basic math works in a visualized way instead of just numbers and symbols on the paper. But they also explain all kind of machine learning models as well, but again, in a picture way. So they have a lot of animation to show you how machine learning works and visualize the process to you, how deep learning works, and explain how the neural network is initiated, constructed. And yeah, I believe that kind of things would give you a better understanding of data science, machine learning, and some basic math and statistics.
Excellent. So our visual learners should definitely check out the link in the description of the episode for that YouTube channel. So thank you all so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Heather, for having all.
Thank you so much, Heather, for having us here.
And to all of our listeners, if you haven't already, check out our previous podcasts. They're available wherever you listen to podcasts. For more information about starting your career as a data scientist, go to dataanalytics.buffalostate.edu. And don't forget to subscribe so that you get a notification each time we release a new episode of Buffalo State Data Talk.